Welcome, listeners and viewers far and wide, from Austin in Texas to Austin Street in Forest Hills. We are recording live at Inman Connect right here in Midtown, New York City. I'm Eirik Gislason, associate broker and team leader of the Excelsior team at Brown Harris Stevens, master certified negotiation expert and instructor, founder of Archway Partners Coaching, and your host of Shear Negotiation Mastery, the podcast bound and determined to reclaim and restore the good name of negotiation, unlock the door to value creation, win-win solutions, and the true power of integrative negotiation. Now, when we talk about negotiation, we often jump straight to outcomes: price, terms, timelines, who won, who conceded, and where the deal landed. But long before any of that shows up on paper, something far more important is already shaping the result: the people involved and the culture they're operating inside of. Culture influences how we react, make decisions, approach our work, and acts as an invisible guide of conduct. Culture is what people feel when they show up. It's how safe they feel when they speak honestly. It's whether they feel respected, heard, and engaged, or managed, pressured, and tolerated. And whether we're talking about a brokerage, a team, or a negotiation across the table, culture can be that X factor on whether things move forward or fall apart. In negotiations, we're trained to look past positions and uncover interests, to ask better questions, to listen for what matters, not just what's being demanded. Strong cultures are built the same way. They thrive when leaders stop trying to force outcomes and start creating environments where people feel seen, trusted, and valued, where authenticity is rewarded, where listening is real, and where engagement isn't demanded, it's encouraged. And today's conversation is about that intersection, how building strong, positive, mutually beneficial cultures mirrors the way great negotiators create value and trust, respect, and the idea that there's often more than one way to win. And I'm excited to explore this with someone who's lived it across very different environments and who understands that at the heart of every successful negotiation and every successful organization is the same truth: people matter. And with that, we'll take a break, and I'll be right back with my special guest after this.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
Looking to stage a property but on a tight budget and timeline? Stage with Stage and Fold. Stylish, lightweight, foldable, 3D printed cardboard furniture that looks real. Quick delivery and easy assembly. Staging starts at just $199 a month per room, and setup takes less than 30 minutes. Contact us today to stage smarter, sell faster, save thousands with Stage and Fold.
And we are back. My guest today is Mike Morgan, a self-described cultural warrior who spent his career proving that values and performance are not opposites. From his 17-year leadership journey at Whole Foods and Amazon to his current role as Director of Operations at Bramlett Partners, the fastest growing independent brokerage in Central Texas. Mike specializes in scaling culture without losing the soul of the business. Mike also serves on the board of directors for the Austin Board of Realtors and Unlock MLS, where he helps guide the intersection of real estate, leadership, and technology in one of the most dynamic real estate markets in the country. Mike, welcome to Shearline. I am so glad to have you right here live at Inman Connect.
Thanks, Eric. It's great to be here. It's great to be back in New York, and just honored to be a part of the conversation.
So you're back. You live in Austin. I think you win the prize as my longest traveled guest, so congratulations.
Oh.
Yeah.
Happy to take that honor. That's great.
Your flight was you
excellent. Yeah.
You braved the weather. You didn't have any
I braved
any
60
weather?
degrees to come to about 20 to 30 degrees.
Yeah, well, welcome.
It feels good. Yeah.
Welcome back. Yeah, that's our welcome back to you in New York City.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into it. I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Okay.
The cultural warrior, as we say, and I think there's such a great intersection between culture and negotiations, and such a great jumping off point to where we get when we negotiate with strong cultural backgrounds. So you've helped build culture in very different environments, from a large organization like Whole Foods to Bramlett Partners in Austin.
Yeah.
What have you learned about the role culture plays in whether an organization thrives or struggles?
Culture is really the difference between an organization thriving or maybe even just surviving. I mean, a business can do well, but I truly believe that when you apply the focus of culture to your business, you can get even better outcomes. So you've got employees that are much more engaged. They feel like they're connected to the company. You've got a leadership team that's really focused on excellence. And that in turn drives not only just the outcomes, but great retention rates, great attitudes, and just a wonderful environment to be a part of. So I've seen both great cultures and ones where they're not focused on culture. I've seen both. Yeah. And I'll tell you, all day, every day, I would much rather be a part of something that's really focused on culture.
It's interesting. I mean, I would assume that because you've had the experience of having being in organizations where they have a strong culture and organizations that don't, that you have a perspective that maybe people who are at one company for 35 years and only understand what culture means in that organization. It seems like your perspective, having worked in both, it would be really profound.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate. I got to work at one of the greatest cultures in retail at Whole Foods Market. I got some of the best years working at that company. Learned a ton, had a great time doing it. And culture was always something that we lived and we breathed and we talked about. And I don't think that that's inapplicable to real estate. You know, you've got a great opportunity as leaders in brokerages or in real estate to really focus on culture as well. Agents have a choice with where they can work. Yeah. And I think as leaders in a brokerage, you know, what a great foundation is to really build a culture that stands out, that builds retention, that, you know, is just something that agents are proud to be a part of. Yeah. What a great win.
Yeah, and it's what's so funny, at least in our market, or what we see in our market, is there's always an assumption that it's all about the money, right? That every decision you make is about what split you have or what opportunity you're given. But just like in negotiation, the reality is there are many value elements. Yeah. And there are so many people who would give up or trade a little bit of a split, a little bit of opportunity for an environment that they feel is integrous, or that meets their values, or that is fun. And I think I think leaders, especially in real estate, because it is easy to move from one firm to another. They miss that opportunity to build that loyalty and that retention.
Yeah. You know, I think you can build a culture. One of the best ways you can build culture is on the way in. So agents reaching out to a brokerage like myself who have questions about joining us, if they're only focused on the split or if they're only focused on that number, to me it means maybe they're not the best fit. The agent that I think will thrive in our environment is passionate on being a part of the culture. They're curious about who we are. How do we make decisions? The split is a part of it, of course. You know, they wouldn't be doing their due diligence if they weren't focused on that as well. But if that's the only thing, I think that maybe they're not the best fit. You know, culture it's a two-way street, and we want to partner with agents that are really willing to contribute and be participants.
I love that. That's really interesting. That idea that you can screen for the right partner or the right agent that might be right for your firm by the questions they do or do not ask about what culture is like or what the strength of the culture is. That's really fascinating. I love that. All right, so one of the other things that I know that you talk about is the idea of a triple win, which I love. The win-win-win. Now, how can parties create more value and ultimately that third win in a negotiation?
Yeah, one of the ways I found the most purpose in my past life working with supply chain or with a brand that we were trying to grow wasn't just finding a win on my side and a win on your side, but when there was that third win, whether it was a community we were a part of, maybe it was an organization, maybe it was a purpose or a cause that we were also elevating throughout the course of a deal, that is to me where the magic really happens and where I really found such fulfillment in my work and fulfillment in my life. And I don't think that that's inapplicable to a real estate transaction as well. I can approach something like I'm going to win, and if you approach it like you're just going to win, sure, we'll find an outcome that I think is successful. However, if we also apply, our partnership in a negotiation to see if there's a collective or a third win or a better outcome for everyone involved, that's a better way to work.
Yeah, and I would imagine that could solidify or bring the two parties in a negotiation closer together, where it leads to more collaboration because you see the mutual benefit that you're both going to create if you can make this work.
And that you don't know that unless you also share a little bit too. Transparency is a big part of that third win. Learning what really is meaningful to you, I think comes from you being transparent, me being transparent back. And transparency is not weakness either. I think it's also it's an important part to bring your client's best interests and to the table and be transparent about that. I think you just end up with the best outcome.
I love that. And I know you also champion the benefit of working with a local broker. In your work with Bramlett Partners, how does that align with your companies, with Bramlett Partners' cultural identity?
Yeah. We like to say that we're big enough to back you, but small enough to know you. So we're really focused on delivering really excellent agent and client-focused tools and resources. So we deliver that best-in-class resource for the agent. But it's really important that we know our agents as they walk through the door. We know their names. We know what their personal goals are. That is really important and a critical part of our business and how we focus. So agents, again, they've got choices, but I think we can be nimble, we can be flexible. We are born and raised, a lot of our agents in the market, so they know the neighborhoods. That is something that's really important for us.
That's interesting. There's a conference that I attended where there was a panel of mid-sized or boutique-style brokerages here in the city, and it was really interesting to see how that group of broker owners and leaders, they actually have a group. They meet on a monthly basis. They have a little mastermind kind of breakfast that they do, but it's kind of cool to see how they use the strength of their size to be more nimble, like you said, and to create a culture that separates them from the giants that are out there, which is interesting.
We can listen to our agents, and we can be nimble enough to actually apply and pivot and deliver something even better because we've had time to listen to this small group of agents that we get to work with.
Oh, I love that.
It's really cool.
I love that. All right, so for now we're talking. Your firm does not have indivial teams, right? However, New York City, that's a big thing.
There's a few, but it's rare. Yeah.
So for leaders, and we have leaders that are broker owners, and they are in they're used to a leadership position. But we also have a lot of leaders who are leading teams of 4, 6, 8, 12 agents, and really haven't taken the time to build or establish a strong culture.
Yeah.
So for those leaders running brokerages or teams, since culture can make or break engagement and retention, in your experience, where do leaders often miss the mark on what people actually want and need?
It's a great question.
Thanks.
The first thing that comes to mind is that I think you miss the mark when you don't listen, when you stop listening, when you feel like as a leader, I need to do all the talking and come up with all the answers, and there's a need to fill the gap in solving everyone's problem. I think you miss an opportunity to listen to your agents or listen to your team members, to understand what their needs are, what motivates them, where you might be missing the mark as a leader. So that also takes a little bit of vulnerability and openness to hear the feedback and process it. And a successful team leader will do something about the feedback. It's not just false words of, I hear you and I want to listen, but really absorbing it and taking that to heart and doing something about it. That's that critical last step. Yeah,
which is probably collecting the data or understanding what the problems or the issues are, and then not doing anything about it could probably have an even larger negative effect than just not having any culture whatsoever.
That's the easy part. Collecting the information is the easy part.
Right,
the data is the easy part. It's what you do with it.
So if a team, let's say that there's a large team out there that really hasn't taken the time to establish a strong culture or really hasn't even thought about it, is it ever too late?
No.
Or is this something that you can say, all right, you know what, starting today, we're going to institute this?
Every day we have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. I firmly believe that. But if a team leader or an individual wants to change or pivot or affect their culture for better, it starts with them. So a lot of responsibility falls on that leader. So I hope that they find people that they surround themselves that challenge them, that can push them to be better, that are comfortable giving them the feedback that maybe they need to hear, not necessarily they want to hear, but the stuff they need to hear. That is really important. So just not being in an echo chamber of yes men, but really surrounding yourself with people that want to push you to be better is important.
I love that.
It's important.
I love it. Well, with that, I'm going to take the lead and say we need to take a break and highlight our sponsors, and we'll be back right after this.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
Or always leaves your text on red. Leaves your text on red.
Built the corporate group with $1,000 loan.
Tell us a little bit about how you actually came from.
Welcome to the Build Up, John Roa.
Thanks for having me.
We're coming to you here from Studio 1873.
It's not 57% over 2.7 million.
So then, cheers.
All right, and we are back with Mike Morgan. Now, Mike, not everyone engages, processes information, or makes decisions in the same way. So how do you deal with the various decision maker types and adjust your communication to influence the way your teams and stakeholders respond?
I'm a processor and by nature, so it's important for me to have a little time and space for me to really understand what's coming across or what message you're trying to deliver so that I can give you the best outcome as possible. I'll give you an example. I think as a member of the board of directors, we were being presented with information by a stakeholder that was, really going through a lot of important content that I needed to be really well versed in so that I could, my vote would be appropriately applied to influence the decision. And this individual was talking through the slides as it was going, and I could see the room just kind of glaze over. And I just raised my hand and said, hey, I just need like 30 seconds. Just put the slide up and let me absorb it for 30 seconds. And I think we're gonna have a better conversation after it.
Yeah.
And it was incredible how uncomfortable that was for the room, how uncomfortable it was for other people to see me ask for something that I needed. And yet after the meeting, people came up and said, thank you for asking for that.
Right. They're like,
God, it was so much information and I needed that time. But I think it's important to ask for what you need. So that might be time, space, to better process. And then you mentioned about kind of reacting to other people's styles or I've watched people match styles inappropriately. So if someone comes at you bullying with, texts or they're firing off emails really aggressively, don't put some space between your response and that desire to fire off your response right back. That's when your ego gets involved and things get sticky, and I think you lose the plot and you lose your client's interest because you're basically, your ego is driving the conversation. So my best advice, I guess, kind of wrapping this point up, is just take a little time, ask for what you need, put a little pause, and I think you'll end up with a better outcome.
I love that. And when I coach on the different decision maker types, that idea that both of your examples of that misfiring, of not communicating or meeting that person with their communication style or where they need to be met. And you don't always have the opportunity where someone is bold enough to say, this is what I need.
Yeah.
And you lose them without even knowing it because they're just uncomfortable to say, please stop, I need a little bit more time. And in negotiations in our real estate negotiations, there's one in particular, one decision maker style, the analytic thinker, who really does need time.
Yeah.
They want time to sit down, think once they make a decision, they're solid, they're ready to go, but they need a while to process that information and go through it. And especially in a city like New York, you have agents who are like, I've got a 4 o'clock meeting, I got a 5 o'clock meeting, I got a 5:30 meeting, and they'll get to a point where they have to leave and bounce to the next meeting, and the person they're sitting across from needs another hour or another 2 hours, and now you've potentially just lost that entire relationship or that deal because you just didn't bother to line up with the way that person needs to communicate.
Total missed opportunity. Yeah.
Total missed opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now you dealt with supply chain, right, in your prior career. So whether you're talking about supply chain or a residential real estate transaction, there are moments of high pressure, obviously. So in your experience, what behaviors tend to show up when the pressure is on, and how do you decide how to respond in those moments?
I think the first thing is ego. You can watch people's egos get really inflamed and really pollute an entire conversation or negotiation and take it completely off the rails. I think it's like not only just approaching that with a pause or some space, but approach it with curiosity. I think it's another point that I like to kind of meet people where they're at. If you have something you're trying to get across, and maybe we're missing the mark on how we're communicating, you're coming across a little aggressive, I'm not taking that really well. Yeah. Sometimes I shift it up and pick up the phone. Am I reading this correct? Is this what you're really trying to get at? And asking those questions, ask some effective questions to get that person to potentially explain their motivations. Wow, does that really calm things down and get alignment much quicker? So sometimes it takes a responsibility or a leadership role, stepping out of your own comfort zone, and I think asking questions is another great place to start too.
It's great. I mean, just in the last answer and this answer, I think there are two incredible nuggets to take away from this conversation. That idea that sometimes the right move is to say, this is what I need, or this is the question I have. To take that proactive stance, because people we misunderstand what people's intentions are sometimes, and we do back down and say, well, you know what, I don't feel really comfortable answering this email or picking up the phone and saying, is this really what you intended? Because this is the way I read it. And there's so much that can be brought, there's so much ground that can be gained when you have those conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, so as negotiators, it's common to come up with a clear picture of where we want things to land, right? So we already have it in our head, or where we think it'll land, and then design a plan of how to get there. So when we act in that way, how does that get in our way?
I think about like how frustrated I get when I think I'm going to go drive downtown and I'm going to take this route, and then MapQuest. I'm dating myself.
Yeah, I love it.
Waze will take you someplace else, and I can get frustrated. You miss the opportunity to like still get to your destination. But if you're so focused on this is the way I have to get there, I think you miss out on a huge opportunity. Having a desired outcome is not always best. I feel like your ego gets in the way. You miss out on that potential for a third win in the situation. Yeah, right. You miss out on maybe the motivations to get a better offer even across to the other side by understanding maybe the buyers or sellers' motivations, because you're just like, this is the number, this is how we're going to approach this. I'm going to beat this client to death by doing this, this, and this. Man, but you might be firing on all the wrong cylinders by doing that. So. Right. Again, being a little curious, being open to the journey. Sure, it's great to have an idea in mind, but if you're so focused on that, you can really just bulldoze yourself into you could screw up the deal, essentially.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, now what I want to do now is I'm going to switch gears to what we call the lightning round, one of my favorite parts of the podcast. And because we're doing a truncated version live here at Inman Connect, I'm going to do a truncated version of the lightning round. But first, we have to start with our theme music. All right, so truncated version of the lightning round. So this is a quick one. This can be a yes or no.
Okay.
You live in Austin, great city. Are you still keeping it weird in Austin?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not me personally, but there's plenty of weird in Austin. If you want to find it, it is there. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear it. All right. Now, the next question. Now, we pride ourselves in New York City as always moving or thinking about moving. It's always on our mind. Buying, selling, renting another apartment, always. But I understand that you have moved more than 30 times over the course of your life. That's record setting. So tell us more about that.
I have a hard time sitting still sometimes, being in one place. I moved around a lot. My dad was in sales, and so we moved around the country, which is a great opportunity. I got to see a lot and experience a lot. It's probably maybe why I love real estate so much, is because I love houses and homes. And yet I also understand the challenges in building community and finding new community. And that responsibility as a representative of a transaction or helping a client navigate it, I think that's also an additional purpose I found in this industry is helping people find community, because I saw that growing up as well, how important that was to find community fast, because you might be moving again in a year or two. So
that's really fascinating how your past experiences has kind of led you to this cultural warrior mantra. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so if you were to win the lottery tomorrow and money was no object, what would you do with all of your time and energy?
I love travel and I love food. Those are probably my two favorite things. Going out to eat is one of my favorite things to do, and decompress. I love to cook to decompress. So I would apply to the Culinary Institute in upstate New York and go study food and really just dive in. I think that'd be really exciting.
Love it. Well, this is going to be your move back to New York City. You just got to win the lottery.
Sounds great.
All right. The last question I have for you, Mike, is where can our audience connect with you? Whether they're in Austin or New York City or anywhere across the country, where can our audience find you?
So I work at Bramlett Partners. You can find us on Instagram at Bramlett Partners. You can reach out to me as well, Mike Morgan. The O is a 0 on Instagram as well, or Mike at BramlettPartners.com if you have any questions. I'd love to
Wonderful.
connect.
Mike, thank you so much.
Eric,
it's been a pleasure.
Opportunity.
So we're going to do a few key takeaways here. Whether we're talking about building a brokerage, leading a team, or sitting across the table in a negotiation, the same truth keeps showing up. People are not the obstacles to outcomes. They are the pathways to them. Culture is built through authenticity, respect, and real engagement. When people feel heard, understood, and valued, trust grows. And when trust grows, loyalty, retention, creativity, and performance follow naturally. So here are a few of our takeaways from today's conversation with Mike. One of the most important shifts we can make as leaders and negotiators is letting go of the need to force specific results. Too often, we walk into conversations with a fixed destination in mind and try to steer everyone to get there. The best outcomes, whether in deals or in organizations, aren't imposed. They're discovered. They emerge when we slow down, stay curious, and allow the input of the people involved to shape what's possible. Number 2, we talked today about curiosity as a leadership tool, about asking better questions, about recognizing that people engage, process information, and make decisions differently. When leaders meet people where they are instead of where we wish they were, culture strengthens and negotiations become more effective. And number 3, we also explored the idea of what Mike calls the triple win. Not just win-lose or win-win, but win-win-win, where there's value created for individuals, teams, and the organization as a whole. That third win only appears when we expand the conversation beyond our own interest and then take time to understand what truly matters to others. Bottom line, strong cultures and strong negotiations are built the same way, through curiosity instead of conclusions, through listening instead of assuming, and through the willingness to elevate and empower the people around you. And that's Shearline for today, everyone. As a reminder, you can support this show by following us, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just go to getmorenetwork.com, and there you can check out all of the amazing shows on the More Network, including past episodes of Shearline. You can find me all over Instagram at archway.partners, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Eirik the Expert. You can connect with the Excelsior team at Brown Harris Stevens by going to bhsusa.com, and you can connect with my coaching company, Archway Partners Coaching, by visiting archwaypartnersinc.com to learn more about our brand new Archway Partners experience, coaching and training opportunities, courses, modules, scripts, as well as weekly small group coaching and sessions with me live on the network. So remember, there's a key for every lock, but it's the right combination of grooves, cuts, and teeth that lift the pins and create the shear line. Until next time, keep turning curiosity into connection, mystery into mastery, and keep unlocking what's possible. We'll see you next time, everybody.